I carried the shovel down the path toward the lake to find Rosemary and Nora, but as I made my way through the grass and trees closer to the water, they were nowhere to be found. I followed the path without looking back from where I came. It was like being in a dream where you're walking down your neighborhood street on a sunny day, then turn a corner, and suddenly you're trudging through a brutal blizzard. I was afraid of looking back in case the scene had changed completely, but somehow I felt better knowing I needed to only pay attention to what was ahead of me. My name's Brandon Hobson. I received a PhD in creative writing from Oklahoma State University, and I'm the author of Where the Dead Sit Talking, which was a 2018 finalist for the National Book Award in Fiction. I grew up in El Reno, Oklahoma, which is west of Oklahoma City, and have lived in Oklahoma my whole life. I think what drew me to writing was in college, taking an Introduction to Literature course, and where we started reading, and I found myself really moved by everything I was reading. Just something clicked, discovering all these new writers and the idea that here's a story about nothing necessarily. And I started feeling these things that I was reading in college that I didn't when I was younger. And thinking about that ultimately drew me into writing about things. I've been writing a long time. I didn't really have much bigger success until Where the Dead Sit Talking came out. Rosemary picked up a tiny rock and threw it at the water. She turned and said something to Nora, who pointed to the spot where she threw it. I imagine them walking to the water. I imagine them entering the lake and splashing around till Rosemary became annoyed and accidentally held Nora underwater too long. Where the Dead Sit Talking. It's about Sequoia, a 15-year-old Cherokee boy who his mother is locked up in jail for a nonviolent crime, and he ultimately finds himself in with a non-native foster family, along with two other foster kids who are there, a younger boy named George and an older girl named Rosemary. He becomes strangely obsessed with Rosemary in a way that I think I see a lot of teenage boys, or I saw when I was in social work, a lot of teenage boys develop obsessions over things. When I started writing, I had the image, it always starts with an image, and I had that image, the sort of landscape in my mind. I was just thinking of, a rural town, a small, and that's the thing about Oklahoma is all these small towns, a lot of times the main streets, they all kind of look alike to me, right? They're abandoned old stores that aren't there anymore, that aren't, they're out of business. But nothing brought me in touch with the moment, not seeing Rosemary as she tried to console me, not her hand touching my head, and certainly not Nora Drake, who wasn't even concerned, Nora, who hadn't thanked me. When I finished Where the Dead Sit Talking, my hope was, did I tell this story the best way that I possibly can? So I was just happy knowing that it was going to come out in hardback. That was very exciting for me. At that point, I wasn't thinking about reviews. I wasn't thinking about how it would be, any kind of reception at all. Publishers Weekly gave it a positive review early on. It wasn't until the National Book Award announced their long list when it really struck me that, it's doing pretty well. When it made the finalist list, I was really just sort of floored because I thought, wow, there were a lot of good books on the long list. So to make, the top 5, and then maybe it's like making the Final Four in NCAA basketball.
We're lucky to have Where the Dead Sit Talking. So please join me in welcoming to the stage Brandon Hobson.
I do think it professionally has helped me. The emails start coming in, like I straight from New York to Miami, to the Miami Book Festival. And then I went, was invited to Amherst College in Massachusetts. So I did that, the Tucson Book Festival. It's really been a great experience. I was quiet. As they walked away, I could feel my anger building. Certain situations bothered me to the point of feeling pressure in my chest, and this was one of them. I leaned back and looked to the sky where a hawk soared in the clouds. For a while, I lay there until I felt well enough to stand. I'm real happy with Where the Dead Sit Talking being, considered a Native American book, and I hope that I'm considered, at some level, on some level, a part of Native American writing. The older I've gotten, the more important my Cherokee identity has become, my heritage, and the more I've thought about it. My ancestors walked the Trail of Tears, so that story has always fascinated me, and it's always haunted me. I feel like it's a very special part of who I am, not just as a person, but I think as an artist, as a writer, storytelling, and looking at it as an art form. The question that I continue to explore, that my ancestors asked at some point was, so, what is home? We're being forced out, where is our home? And that's a very haunting question. I don't think we want to lose track of where our home is. I'm proud to be part of, this wave of Native American writing. I hope that my books and my writing and the next one is stylistically different than this one. I hope that my writing is diverse enough that I can't be labeled as a specific type of writer.